Will the Bengals coaching staff remain intact? Well, multiple teams are eyeing coaches on Zac Taylor's staff. Get the latest on that, if there could be changes, and if those changes happen, what it could mean for your Cincinnati Bengals. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. Make sure you check out episode 3 of Enter the Jungle. We posted it on Tuesday night, 8 Eastern. It will premiere every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern, all off season long. So get used to it. We have a special announcement Andrew Fox Miller and I do about Enter the Jungle coming up. Today's video brought to you by MyBookie. Make sure you use promo code BengalsTalk to get a deposit match up to $1,000 right now. All you have to do is go to mybookie.ag. The playoffs are here, NBA in full swing. Go to MyBookie and use promo code BengalsTalk right now. And let's dive into what is going to be, I think, a busy offseason for Zac Taylor and his coaching staff. And Zac Taylor said that there's no plans, and I asked him point blank if he plans on making any changes to his staff. He does not. So Zac is hoping to bring the staff back from the coordinators, Lou Anarumo and Brian Callahan on down. But as you know, and as we've seen over the past couple of years, position coaches, coordinators, they get interviews. And let's start with what we know. Brian Callahan has 3 interview requests as of right now, according to various reports. The Titans are the most recent one. The Chargers are another one, and the Panthers. So 3 of the 6 vacancies as we record on Wednesday afternoon are open to and want to talk to Brian Callahan. And there could be more than that vacancy-wise. There could be another job or 2 that opens up. You never know. But, man, it is certainly interesting. The Bengals offensive coordinator obviously has helped Joe Burrow become one of the best quarterbacks in the league. This Bengals offense was really, really good in 21 and 22. And this year even showed flashes. And I think that's what's interesting about Callahan is he showed that he can – make an offense work. Zac Taylor too, but this offensive staff make an offense work without Joe Burrow. And so that might bolster his stock some. I got to be honest. I think that if the Chargers cheap out, and that's what that ownership, at least that's the reputation that they have, because Jim Harbaugh makes a ton of sense there if he's making the leap to the NFL. If they go the other way and they want to go with a coach that isn't going to command $20 million a year, not that you wouldn't have to pay a coach a lot of money. Of course you would. Even Callahan, any coach that's going from offensive coordinator to a head coach is going to make millions and millions. But they could go that route and hire Callahan. And I think of these jobs, that's the one he would want the most. But it is interesting because what would this Bengals staff look like? Well, I do think they're going to lose someone on the offensive staff. And the reason I say that is Brian Callahan had multiple head coaching interviews last year, didn't get a job. You saw Dan Pitcher, the Bengals quarterbacks coach. He interviewed for an offensive coordinator job in Tampa Bay, ended up staying here in Cincinnati. And then Troy Walters interviewed the Bengals wide receivers coach. He interviewed for an offensive coordinator job in Houston and ended up staying and didn't get it. But those are 3 guys where you could see shuffle now. And whether it's Troy Walters, who it'd be really important to keep him just because of the development of Andre Yosavash, the development of Charlie Jones, and the development of whatever receiver you draft or sign or whatever the case is this offseason, and I certainly think they will do that. He's a big, big part of this offense, as is Callahan, as is Dan Pitcher. There's no doubt about that. I think Dan Pitcher's shine has never been brighter, given what he's done with Joe Burrow, but also what he did with Jake Browning, going 4-3 down the stretch. Browning made some great throws, played pretty darn well, considering where he was at NFL stature-wise to where he ended the season, from entering in for Joe Burrow 8 weeks ago now to where he is now, as thought of as a legitimate backup in the NFL. Pitcher deserves a lot of credit for that. But if Callahan did leave, I think the Bengals would simply elevate Dan Pitcher to offensive coordinator. That would also mean a shuffle at quarterbacks coach. I don't know who would become the quarterbacks coach. I think that's interesting, but I think that's what would happen. And these head coaching jobs, they'll obviously get taken. And then the position coaches and the coordinators, all those jobs will get filled and backfilled afterwards. And so a place like Chicago is interesting because they have an offensive coordinator job open right now. And so do they reach out to Dan Pitcher? I don't know. I think that's interesting. The way it works is like I said, this is Wednesday. Virtual interviews can happen today. So Brian Callahan, who knows? Maybe he is interviewing with the Panthers today virtually or interviewing with one of these teams virtually in the near future, that means that, it's a Zoom basically. And if things go well and they want to do it in person and have a second interview in person or a third interview in person, you can do that, but you have to wait until the divisional round is complete. So a couple of weeks. So the wild card round this weekend, the divisional round next weekend, and then you can go interview in person. So we will see with Brian Callahan. No requests as of right now for Lou Anarumo, but I do think that this could be the year where things shift a bit. And whether it's Dan Pitcher, whether it's Brian Callahan, I would be pretty surprised, I think, at this point if both guys were back. And who knows, maybe Troy Walters as well. Like I said, I think he's one of the league's best wide receiver coaches. And when you have coaching turnover, which 6 jobs open, then that means new head coaches. That means those head coaches have to bring in new coordinators and have to reshuffle the deck. And so if promotions can be had, I certainly think the staff will be in the mix. And the other part of this is Lou Anarumo. And I want to discuss Lou Anarumo, the Bengals defensive coordinator, in just a second. But just got to tell you, Rivertown Inquiry, that's the place to go right now. If you're looking for hoodies, if you're looking for any kind of apparel, I've showed you my Tiger Rocks bourbon glass before. It's the only glass I used to drink bourbon out of, which it's the off season, maybe. So cheers. You got to get to rivertowninquiry.com. They also have 2 locations, one in Oakley, one in Findlay Market. And so go there, Rivertown Inquiry today. Really quality. This shirt is years old and it looks brand new still. So I appreciate Rivertown Inquiry. Doug and his crew do a great job. And as far as Lou Anarumo goes, I think the deck is stacked against them because it's a really tough market right now. I mean, this is one of the best head coaching markets we've seen. One of the bedhead. I wake up with bedhead, even though you don't realize it. Sometimes, I got all the hair I have. The point is, you have Bill Belichick, who could be available. Jim Harbaugh could be available. Mike Vrabel is available. You have a guy in Mike McDonald, who hopefully he does get one of these head coaching jobs, because the Ravens defensive coordinator certainly has done a great job over the past couple of years. And so I think Lou Anarumo is taking a bit of a back seat. It doesn't mean he won't get an interview or two. Was a finalist for the Arizona job last year, but it does feel like he could be on the outside looking in of this cycle this year. Doesn't mean it won't happen. Could happen, but as of right now, that's kind of my observation, which probably good news for the Bengals, that they don't have to sweat it out at all, even though I would bet if I had to that Lou would be back. But man, there's a lot of really good coaches out there. And it doesn't have a ton to do with this season. I think that he's kind of established himself as one of the better defensive coordinators in the league, but a lot of these teams want offensive minds. And that's where I think Brian Callahan, that's why there's so much interest in him, because you have a Bryce Young, or you have a Will Levis, or you have a Justin Herbert, where you want to go with an offensive mind. And so we will see what happens there. We will certainly have you covered all week long, all off season long. So tell a Bengals fan today about Cincinnati Bengals Talk if they don't know about us yet. Please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and until next time, for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching Cincinnati Bengals Talk.